healthier, better.
Master Ross, I love that you were able to come on. We kind of went back and forth for like 2-3 months
Yes,
for
sir.
you to come on. So I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. No problem. So usually when we have our guests, they ask for the favorite beverage and you wanted a nice coffee.
Yes.
So I got you a little coffee.
Thank you.
So for the viewers at home, tell them a little bit about how you got into martial arts.
Oh, okay.
So what age?
Short story or long story?
Long story.
All right. The long story. Okay. It's a long story. So I've always liked martial arts. I've always had a fascination with it. I grew up with a bunch of cousins, older brother, and most of my cousins were boys. And we were boys. We were roughhouse. We'd fight a lot and wrestle. And my cousins were hockey kids, and we grew up playing hockey. So we played pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the youngest ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember seeing a martial arts movie.
Which one was it?
To be
was
honest,
it Bloodsport?
I'm not sure what it was at
Okay.
the time. I was really young, and I was like, "Wow, this little guy is beating all these big guys."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Man, I want to learn that,"
Mhm.
because I was always getting beaten up by my my cousin in a not a bad way, but
Yeah, they were stronger than you at that time.
yeah. And I think back then it was more normalized. Now kids, they don't
Yeah, you can't play like
roughhouse
that.
as much. They
Yeah.
play video games. So, but yeah, we're always doing that. And then I had this fascination with it, and over time, I just really, over the time, I started to like see magazines about martial arts in stores, and I was like, oh, cool, what's that? And finally, I saw a Bruce Lee movie.
Do you remember which one it was?
It was it's called The Chinese Connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that and I was just like, oh man, this is amazing. Right. Like I was like, who is this guy? And look at him. He could take on all these big guys. So I fell in love with it, and I would practice by myself. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just practicing as a little kid.
Were you like practicing the moves that you saw in the movies?
Yeah. And I'd like at the time, I didn't know, I was like repping what I would see.
Mhm.
So I'd see him do a side kick. I'd do like 20 of those each leg every day. But I wasn't doing them properly.
I know, but
Yeah.
you still.
Yeah. And, so my parents, at the time they got divorced, and I moved, my mother got remarried, and we moved out of my neighborhood. And what happened was I was downtown in an old martial arts place called CKT Martial Arts.
Okay.
It was a Young and Bloor area. And there was a little poster that said, "Train with Bruce Lee's student." And that was Master Ted Wong.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Wong was Bruce Lee's student, one of his original students. And I took this little, you could rip the bottom off, get the number.
Oh, the tag.
the
Yeah,
tag.
call this number.
I took it off. I put it in my pocket. So my stepfather, who my mom just remarried, we were close, but we weren't like super close, right?
Mhm.
Like it was still new relationship for everyone. And I just moved out of my family home that I grew up
Big
in.
changes.
Yeah, big changes.
Yeah.
So he saw it in my pocket, and he said to my mom, "I'll take him." It was in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
The seminar's in Montreal. He says, "I'll take him," because his mother lived in Montreal.
Okay.
So I was like, "Oh, cool. All right. So I'm going to go train with Bruce Lee's student."
Mm-hmm.
And man, like when I got there, it was awesome. It was a Jeet Kune Do seminar.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just all kinds of guys there. Wrestlers, like this is before UFC,
Mm-hmm.
like way before the original UFC.
Mhm.
There's wrestlers, there's Taekwondo guys, karate guys, Kempo karate guys with their black,
Yeah.
tank tops,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
sweatpants, and like it was like a mix of everything. And
Mhm.
I was quite young then. I was probably like, I don't remember exactly, but I was young. I was like maybe 11 or 12, right?
Mhm.
And Ted Wong worked with me. He was helping me with my trapping techniques and kicking techniques and everything. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. So he came back to Toronto again for another seminar. Well, he was announcing, he said, I'll be back in a year or two and he'll be in Toronto. So I was keeping my eye on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he did come back, I went to another seminar. And when I was there, I saw a bunch of guys with Taekwondo uniforms. So during the time, I went to a karate school and I did a Wing Chun also. I went to a Wing Chun place, and just looking for something to do, but it wasn't Bruce Lee stuff. Like it wasn't like the big kicks, the cool things I saw in the movies, and I was
the
like
power strikes and stuff like that.
Yeah. It was it was karate. It was like horse stance punches.
Yeah. So to explain a little bit to the listeners at home, what's the base of oh my gosh, it just escaped me. Bruce Lee's martial art that he created.
So Jeet Kune Do. Jeet Kune Do. So Jeet Kune Do means the way of the intercepting fist. Okay, and Bruce developed this art based on his philosophies and everything, and he was quite philosophical.
Isn't there a little bit of an argument that he created the first mixed martial arts?
Yeah,
right.
You can say that. Yeah,
because he put things together for his martial arts.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, he didn't get stuck on this is a style. Yeah, he was like, okay, if this works, use it. Right. If it doesn't work, get rid of it. And it was like different for everybody. So it was. I think so. I think it was one of the first.
Yeah, that's what I've read too.
Yeah, it was definitely a very open martial art in terms of even to this day, some people, you go into some studios, they're like, well, no, that's not a karate punch, so we don't do that. Yeah. Right. Whereas he's like,
if it works, it works.
Right. Yeah. And that was, So when he came back to Toronto, I went to his seminar and I saw all these Taekwondo guys with uniforms. And I was like, those are the kicks I want to do. That's awesome.
Yeah. Taekwondo kicks are crazy.
And I was still young, right? Like I didn't really know too much, right? I was like, this is not like the class I went to over at the community center. I was sitting in a horse stance for an hour punching. Not that that's not good. We can go back to that, but it just wasn't for at the time what I was looking for. And so we moved to the Yonge and Steeles area. Okay. And there's a Taekwondo school there. And Master Ko, that's my teacher. He's my Miyagi, right? Yeah. So he had a school there, and he still has a school there. And I walked in, and my stepdad took me in there. I think he actually signed up with me for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like, I'll do it if you do it, just to get me to like do something, right?
Yeah.
And I remember we were sparring right away.
Right away?
Yeah. I went in there in my first class.
Is it like flow sparring though, or like pretty?
It's like a light sparring.
Okay.
Light sparring. Yeah. Not too hard. And I was wearing so Jeet Kune Do guys at the time tried to, simulate the Bruce Lee look. So I was wearing like a white tank top with black pants. And
anybody coming with a yellow jumper?
Yeah. If we had it, I would have worn it. So I walked in there and I'm in my stance. And I remember this to this day. I swept the guy on the floor. I was took him down, went pop. And then I remember Master Ko came over and goes, "Oh, we don't do that in Taekwondo." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Okay." So then he
saw it in the movies.
Yeah, he put me with somebody else. And I was like, I was doing really well. I was like beating this guy, right? So then he put me with a black belt.
Oh no.
And I'll never forget. I go up against the black belt and I start doing my moves. I'm doing okay. And then the Master Ko's Korean and the black belt was Korean. He just said something to the black belt in Korean. Something, right?
Yeah.
And all I hear is that the guy yell. He goes, "Ah!" like this. And he goes, boom, 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 boom. He starts blasting me. And I get back kicked into the wall. I fell down. I was like, oh my God.
So did he tell him to like take it a second gear?
Like, you could take it up on him.
Okay.
Yeah. But I had a huge smile on my face. I wasn't like,
yeah, you're always smiling when you spar and everything like that. Even when we spar, you're just smiling.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. So, and then I remember I walked out. I went to my stepdad and he's like, "I signed you up." He's like, "You're doing this."
Yeah.
And I didn't really so I wasn't really hooked on it yet. I just liked it. But then if you know Taekwondo, or if people do Taekwondo, it's still a very traditional martial art.
It is.
So yes, we had that cool sparring day, but half the time we were doing like forms and stuff. Pumse.
Pumse, sorry.
And we were doing things like that. And at the time, I didn't really love that, right? So we had a tournament competition coming up, and we were training for that. I went to it, and I think at the time I was a green belt.
Mm-hmm.
I was a green belt, and I stepped in the ring, and I did great. I won, and I came back, and everybody's, we had a little weight room, okay, a little weight room in the dojang. We call it a dojang.
Mm-hmm.
Korean martial arts dojang, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had a little weight room, and everyone's talking about how they did the tournament, and they're all older than me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was younger, and they were all black belts and stuff. And I remember I was like, yeah, I got gold. And they're like, oh, what belt did you fight at? I was like, green. And they were just like, you should have fought black belt. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? So I started training with the black belts. We had an Olympic class. It was called the Olympic class. And I started training with them. And I remember I was like, oh man, like my teammates looked down on me for fighting. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to try this black belt. So I asked the master Cole, right? I said, can I fight as a black belt? He goes, sure. So I went to the junior provincials, which came up next. And it was a junior provincial championship. And I think I had 2 fights. I beat the first 2 guys. And then my third fight, I lost to that guy. But I was only a green belt. And it was a black belt competition.
Yeah, it wasn't really a loss for you, right?
No, yeah. And I took a silver there at a young age. And that was it. I was like, oh, I love this. This is awesome, right? This, like, I'm hooked. So that's kind of how it all started. And then of course I got deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And
so when you became a little bit deeper into it, how did things shift training wise for you?
Okay. So the main shift happened.
Oh, sorry. What age were you when you did shift?
Around 15, 16,
Okay.
maybe 16. Yeah. 16. And the main shift is, I went to Korea. I really wanted to go to Korea to train with like the top teams. And at this point before that, I knew some of my teammates who went over to Korea to train. And they were telling me how intense it was, how hard it was. There was one teammate of mine who went over there, and he's like, no, every morning they train and they do this and that. They do 2 hours of kicking, 1 hour of this, 1 hour, whatever, right? Yeah. So we would meet in the parking lot in the mornings at the studio.
What?
Like 6 a.m. We'd meet there, and he'd show me what they did in Korea. And we'd go from end to the end parking lot doing the footwork drills and kicking and this. And like, people must have thought we were nuts. Like, who are these 2 kids out there? Like, and we would do it like religiously. We were out there as much as we could. So when I went to Korea, I came back and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a champion. I really want to be a champion. And I just, that was it. I started competing. I started training.
So training wise, did you up the classes, a little longer classes?
So what we did, actually it's funny. So a friend of mine, we started something called Midnight Madness. Because at the studio, it was a studio for everybody, right? It's a family studio. There was a sparring class, the Olympic class, but it was only like maybe twice a week or something. So at that time, it wasn't like a high performance training thing. We were basically kind of just teaching ourselves and seeing what we learned from when we were in Korea. We'd get cassettes and watch like high level things, and we would train for midnight. So the school was closed, and we'd say, hey guys, I remember making a poster, come and join us for Midnight Madness. And we trained from like 12 midnight till 2 a.m. Yeah.
That's so late.
I know.
How old were you when you were doing this too?
Now, this is when I came back from Korea.
Okay,
so I was probably getting to like 17, 18, 19. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And we'd train like
hard.
Yeah. And one of my friends, he's a very successful school owner in Mississauga. We did that together. We started that program, and we had people come. Yeah. Like we had like working professionals who would come.
Oh, really?
And be like, yeah, we want to train with you guys. And we had different studios hear about it, like karate guys, kung fu guys were like, I heard about this training you're doing.
Midnight Madness.
They would come and train with us. And so I just was like really, really into it. And
it sounds a little like Fight Clubby. Meet at this time, you know? Train this hard.
Yeah. The good thing about Taekwondo is well, it's much safer than
it is.
MMA and things like that. So you can do it a lot, and you don't have to worry about injuries and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's The real training though started later. The real training started later. This was still like, I'm into it. I love it. I'm training at the school, but the school didn't really provide that high level. We were kind of providing it for ourselves.
Yeah.
So later on, as I get older and meeting different coaches, talking to different people about like strength and conditioning, stuff like that, then I was training a lot more. And it was like, I would try to do, maybe 5 hours every other day. And then on my days in between, I was
5 hours.
Yeah.
So what'd you do in those 5 hours?
So in the mornings, we would do, depends on, so we were studying periodization and we were trying to, I'm sure, you know, like anatomical adaptation and just building our, because we're still young, skinny teenagers, right?
Yeah.
We were trying to build our bodies and get stronger. And we were at the gym. So we'd be at the gym for like 2 hours. And we were following like a strict thing from a trainer that we knew. And then we'd come back later in the studio, and we do, at the time we were doing high volume, low intensity. So we were trying to train as much as we could with low intensity, but really perfect our basics, right? Like we were trying to, if we did this kick, we'd do it perfectly, like 30 times, and the other like 30, and we do the next kick and the next kick, and we do our footwork and try to like just improve our basic skills constantly through this period. And then later on in the evening, we just do our own training, like when the classes were over, right?
Yeah.
And we would just like, whatever it is we want to work on, maybe we do some light sparring or some, you know, bag work or whatever it is, right? And then the days off was kind of like a cardio day. And it was just like half an hour, 45 minutes on an elliptical or something like that. Because Taekwondo is pretty hard on your joints. So we try to do something that's not so hard.
So when it comes to like running, because a lot of people, when it comes to martial arts and training, they say running is not good for you because of the poundage on your knees. I disagree to a certain, like, just because if you run at a certain, like if you're trying to run hard, then yes, that's horrible for your knees. But if you're trying to keep just a long, good pace, and if you learn to run better, because a lot of people actually don't know how to run. I know that seems really ridiculous.
I might not know how to run,
but a lot of people don't know how to run. Because either they're like flat-footed like this, or pressing off like that. So I don't know. I think there's a certain way to train with that. Do you used to run a lot when you train?
Not too much.
No, just elliptical and stuff like that.
Yeah, elliptical. Maybe a little jog. Like if I couldn't go to the gym to do elliptical, I'd go for a run outside. But it wasn't like too much, to be honest. I was really lucky to find the coach I found, and he, like, I remember doing certain drills at the gym, and people would look at me funny because they've never seen somebody do like
those kind of drills.
Yeah, we'd like jump off a box and hold a weight in like a squat stance and drop the weights and then explode up. And then we'd like rest for I don't remember, like a certain amount of time. And people would just look like, what is this guy doing? Because everyone's just like curling and pumping and, you know.
Well, and all that is pointless for martial arts.
So, and I remember I even felt funny because I'm like, I don't see anybody doing this.
You're like, am I wrong here? Or I'm either ahead of the curve or I'm not. That's funny.
So, but I got super strong from the training. I remember, like, at that time I was fighting, I was like 171 pounds. When I was competing at that age.
Your nickname was the Ox.
Right?
Because you were so strong.
I was benching 2 plates.
At what age?
I was probably 20 years old.
Good for you.
No, I was doing 2 plates. Like, it's just the way we train. And then of course I got really into the training. I started studying it. I started, you know, taking courses and things like that. It just became, how to get strong and not get too big was my goal.
That's the pure part of strength and conditioning, right? To strengthen the muscle and then to condition it, right, for the sport that you're playing in. So you were an Olympic spare, correct?
Alternate.
So explain how you got into that.
It sounds a lot cooler than
I don't know, Ross. It's pretty cool.
I know it's so. Well, it is a nice title, but really and truly, the Olympic alternate is an Olympic selection, and we had guys that qualified. They're from better programs than I were. They're from Quebec, And because of them, we even had the opportunity to compete in this.
Yeah.
They're the ones who did all the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And basically what happened was our association said, we're going to have a fight off. The winner of this goes to the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
I just ruptured my Achilles tendon too, 3 months before. I remember, and it's funny because I couldn't even warm up at the fight. I'm like, I'm not going to warm up. If I'm going to blow my Achilles, I'm going to do it in the ring. I'm not going to do it in freaking the stands here jumping around, right? Like, I couldn't really train the way I wanted to. The best way for me to get cardio, because I couldn't swim because it hurt my ankle when I kick, the Achilles.
Yeah.
I remember, I was doing one leg burpees because I would just do the one leg that was good. And that was the only thing I could do to get my cardio up.
Yeah.
I couldn't even bicycle or anything.
It would hurt.
I had to take my leg right out. I did so much visualization. I did everything I could. It was in Vancouver to prepare without training. And I was like, I'm not going to do so well here. I didn't think I was going to do so well, but I'm going to give it my all.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got through 7 or 6 opponents. And these guys were the top guys, right? Some of them were top guys in Canada. One of them was the Pan Am champion, a good friend of mine from Quebec. I beat him. He was my first fight. Mm-hmm. So I beat him. And I was like, okay.
Were you surprised when you beat him the first time? And how did your leg feel?
In the ring, I was okay.
Was it because of adrenaline though?
I don't know. Yeah. I was okay though. I was okay. It must have had enough time to recover. I didn't blow it. Mm-hmm. Then I had another fight with a guy that gave me a really hard time before. And I beat him because I was a little worried about him. And then this other guy in the training camp before I hurt my Achilles, he actually beat me in a training camp. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but I figured him out. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, you beat me here, but I know what you think I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. I took him out.
What was that? What did you do in that game plan?
I knew when he was in a certain stance, when you attack him, he just kind of moved in. Mm-hmm. And I knew I knew a little how to get in his head, a little bit.
Oh, what'd you do?
It was really weird. His hand was out in his stance, and I would just kick him in the hand.
Oh, really? You just piss him off?
Yeah, things really weird kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
So he's a good fighter. He's very good, but I had his number that day, right? And I think he was overconfident because he beat me previously.
Mm-hmm. He didn't take
I was
you seriously.
Yeah. I was like, okay, good. Right. This is good.
Yeah.
So, and then the next guy who I had tons of back and forth with, man, he's so good. His name is Reggie Lawrence. Really good fighter. Amazing athlete. Beat him. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so I end up in the finals, and the person who won, his name's Francois Coulombe. He was the Olympian for Canada. He didn't have to fight at all.
Why?
Because he's the number 1 seeded guy.
Okay, so he solidified his position.
Yeah. So I already had these fights, which is kind of also good for me because I got rid of the first few fights you're a little nervous, right? But after you get in the flow, you get rid of that feeling. Mm-hmm. Whereas he did all this work. He's like, if I lose the mat, I'm out. Mm-hmm. I'm out. And he did a lot of the work. Mm-hmm. Because of him is the reason we had the qualifier. Mm-hmm. So I'm going up against him, and we had a good first round. It was close, and he was better than me. He is better than me, and he beat me. Mm-hmm. And but you know what? He deserved it. He really deserved it. But if I had to beat him, I would have been there. Okay. Yeah, that was okay. My dream. But
so after that, you came out of it. How did you want to? You obviously continued into martial arts.
Yeah.
But did you kind of get into that phase of you want to fight, you want to be a fighter? Because you have competed in a Muay Thai fight.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah, I did a Muay Thai fight.
And how did that transition?
Kickboxing. So, okay, I'll tell you. I'll go back. I'll backtrack.
We'll go back a little bit.
So, during the time that I was training at my school, Master Co, I went away once for a summer. Mm-hmm. And I was actually teaching for him. I was helping him teach and stuff like that. And I remember I came back and I didn't have a job because I went away for the whole summer, right? I was a dumb kid, and I was like, I'm out. Bye. I just left them. And when I came back, he's like, well, I had to hire someone else. I don't have a position for you. I was like, okay. I had a good friend of mine. He has a school at in Vaughan, Thornhill. It's called Chu's Martial Arts. Tan Chu is his name. So I ended up becoming good friends with him because we were teammates. He was on the provincial team. We trained together, and we had a friendship. But he had a school. And he had a school at a very young age. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come and help me? And I'll give you a job." And for me, it was really hard because in martial arts, you don't, you stay and so I went and talked to my master Ko, and he was totally cool with it.
That's nice.
Yeah. He was like, "You know what? That's fine. As long as you remember that, come and visit, I understand. You got to work. And I never lost my loyalty for him. I would go and visit. I was always like, to this day, like I was just with him last week, and he's now, I think he's like 60 years old. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And but anyway, so Master Chu, this guy was a fighter. He was a fighter.
Yeah.
He would knock people out. Like every tournament there was a knockout, it was from him.
Really?
He had a deadly spin hook kick, like a left leg spin hook kick, which in Taekwondo works really well because most people are right-legged. So if you kick with your right, that left spin will connect very well. He was just dropping people all the time, and he was a tough guy. He broke his jaw. At a tournament. He kept fighting. He won his fight with a broken jaw.
Oh my gosh!
And then the next day, when I had to go and teach with him, he had all these wires in his teeth.
Because you have to wire.
He wired it, and he's trying to teach you like this. He's trying to draw like that. He's just
a very tough man.
Tough dude. Yeah. So when I went and taught with him, I realized I didn't really know how to teach. I had no idea how to teach.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome though.
I had no idea how to teach. I was teaching, but I didn't really know what I was doing. That guy is a teacher.
So why is he a teacher?
He just knows how to break things down and explain things. And he can take a really unathletic student or someone who doesn't have a lot of potential, and he can make them decent.
Wow.
Yeah. Whereas like when I was younger and teaching, I would just look at the kid who was good. And be like, okay, I'm going to help him. Right? Yeah. Like this is a long time. I didn't know better. Right?
Yeah.
So, but I learned to teach from him, but he was super into like MMA and he was boxing. He was fighting in, pro Taekwondo at the time. It was like no equipment Taekwondo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah. And he was, he did some Sanshao. Have you heard of Sanshao?
Yeah,
Sanda?
yeah.
He did some Sanshao fights in Columbus, Ohio. And he was like really into it. So when I was training with him, he would teach me like how to teach properly a jab across and stuff like that. Because in Taekwondo we would do it, but we were just good at it because we were like athletic, right? We were just picking it up.
Pick it up.
Yeah, but he would break it down and teach me how to teach. And then by working with him, and his school wasn't Taekwondo. It was martial arts. So he had jiu-jitsu guys in there. He had all kinds of things in there. Boxers, kickboxers, right? Muay Thai guys. So I got exposed to that. Even though I was responsible for teaching the Taekwondo program, I was exposed to all those other martial arts. And, you know, after your class, you go and everyone's sparring and you spar.
Yeah.
And I picked it up. And one day we had a boxing coach come in. And his name's Sam. And he was a Russian guy. And he was the Israeli.
You still train with Sam now, right?
Different. I think it's a different guy.
Is it a different guy?
Yeah, he's quite old.
Okay.
He's quite old. And he was the Israeli national team coach for boxing. Sam Trachtenberg is his name. And I started taking all his boxing classes. And he was like the coach from Rocky. Like, you know, the old guy. Like
Mickey?
That. Yeah, he's like Mickey. Nothing was ever good. He never said good. It was like
everything was shit. Do better. Yeah.
He was actually very professional, but it wasn't like he wasn't gonna like be, hey, good job today, right? Yeah. It wasn't like that. He wouldn't say we were shit or anything, but you know,
he would just insinuate it.
Yes, very like stoic, and so I got my boxing. I learned a lot from him. And just his style of boxing. And then I mixed it with Taekwondo and everything like that. So after the Olympic trials, I kept competing for 2 more years. And I did okay. I won some international medals. And I realized though, I'm getting slower and my Achilles wasn't helping because it's always bothering me. And I'm slowing down. I'm now like 34 years old at that time. Like I'm 40 now. So I was 34, and I was like, man, I can't keep up with these guys. I can see I can do better, but I physically don't feel like I can play this game anymore. So then I was like, I'm gonna try some Muay Thai, some kickboxing and Muay Thai. And what happened was I just dived right into it. I started training, and then I did like a demo fight, and it was awesome. It was like this underground kind of basement we were warming up in. And we go upstairs and fight, and there's all like the crowd was totally different, right? Like the kickboxing Muay Thai crowd is very different than Taekwondo crowd, right?
So what's the difference between them?
So the old Taekwondo crowd reminds me a lot of the new kickboxing Muay Thai crowd. Okay. So when I used to go to tournaments as a Taekwondo, when I was younger, like there wasn't all this MMA. So you had like pretty tough guys attracted to Taekwondo and karate. Whereas when the MMA and kickboxing got more popular and things like that, I think those tough guys got more attracted to that. And what happened with Taekwondo is it became such a sport. So the environment became very professional. Like there was no, I don't know what the word it is, but it didn't look like a tough culture. It was like very proper coaching. They're wearing tracksuits and suits. It looks like you're at a soccer event, right? Like coaches there's a dress code. Whereas you see Muay Thai guys, they're wearing like these cool vests with no shirts. They're all pumped up with muscles, right? And you're like, Taekwondo used to be like that. So when I went in there, I was like, wow, this looks like, sorry, it's okay. This looks like, what it used to be like. I felt like a kid again in there. And I got really into it. But again, even though we were doing Taekwondo mainly, my Master Cole, my original master, that guy, he's a mixed martial artist. And anyone who knows him can testify to that. If they know him, like old school guys have a lot of respect for him. New school guys that know of him have a lot of respect for him. He was grappling. He was doing all these things. As soon as the MMA came out, he's like, yeah, I know armbar. I know all these. He was doing all this stuff. And he was rolling with like really good guys, like jiu-jitsu guys. And he was quite good. And his boxing was quite good too. So even though we were doing sport Taekwondo, the original Taekwondo that we learned was very, like I would say mixed a little bit. We did some boxing, we did some things, right? We did takedowns, we did wrist locks, we did all these things. And it was more like military Taekwondo, right?
Okay. More aggressive.
Yeah. So, which is funny because now I've totally come back to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've totally come back to that, and that's it is actually kind of funny. So, but I'll go back to what were we on there? We were saying
how you got into Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Got into Muay Thai. So I did my first fight. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is really fun. This is cool. And then while I was doing it, I started teaching it a little bit because I came from a pretty high level. I can pick it up pretty fast, like Taekwondo level, right? From an athletic perspective. So, and I understood the boxing from my boxing coach. I understood. So I picked it up quite fast. And then, what happened was I wanted to do another fight.
You wanted to do another fight?
Another fight. So, but I was like, I need to develop some partners because I had a Taekwondo school at the time. So when I was teaching, I started working with some guys and teaching them so that they would be good partners for me and to help them, of course.
Yeah.
And they got pretty good and they started competing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And one of them like won a silver at the Muay Thai Nationals. Another one, he's now like training in the States, like professionally. But he started with me.
Yeah? Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and another guy did a couple Muay Thai fights and, but they were all like our teammates, right?
Yeah.
And so I did another fight, but I was like, okay, I need higher level guys.
Yeah.
I need to train with. I need sparring partners. They're really good. And the thing with kickboxing, Muay Thai, it's not so jumpy and quick on the footwork. So I felt like I can do this.
Yeah, because with Muay Thai, it's a little bit more heavy foot, right? And then just kind of marching forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
While Taekwondo is very light on the feet, in and out.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I just want to take a quick second to say thank you to our sponsors. So our sponsors are Neurodose.ca. They have CBD pills. I like taking the CBD pills after a hard workout, or honestly, if I need to get a better sleep. You also have their microdosing kit, the liquid, which is the 1P LSD. It helps me with a little bit with productivity, especially when I do martial arts. I feel a little bit more coordinated in that sense. They also have the psilocybin pills. It lasts about 3 to 6 hours, so you can definitely take it midday. The way I kind of suggest it, or the way I say that it helps out the most, is that I feel like I'm playing chess while everybody's playing checkers. Neurodose.ca, our discount code is GetOffa15, but they also have a facility called Floatvalley, located in Markham, Ontario. Kind of a game changer when it comes to recovery. They have infrared saunas, they have a float tank, they have ice baths, and they're working on getting a couple of new things too. Go to floatvalley.com to kind of book. It is GetOffa15, again, our discount code. Other than that, enjoy the rest of the podcast. So you were going a little bit more into how you train into Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And so you traded into that, and then you did a couple of demos.
I did one demo. And then I did, I wanted to do an official fight.
Okay.
So I needed sparring partners.
Mm-hmm. And you said you were training people.
Yeah, I was training people. I had some people, but it wasn't serious. So then I was like, okay. Now, I don't regret where I trained as a Taekwondo athlete at all. Mm-hmm. Like, I have no regrets. I'm so fortunate. But as I told you, it was not a place that was for high performance training, or the goal of the place was not to produce Olympians. Mm-hmm. It was to produce martial artists, mm-hmm. right? We kind of made our own thing. We kind of did our own thing because we love the sport, right? And we found our own ways and stuff like that. So I remember saying to myself, man, if I'm going to go to another Muay Thai gym, if I could look back, where would I have trained as a Taekwondo athlete? Mm-hmm. Because there were other gyms, and there's one specifically in downtown Toronto, and they were producing like the top people. Like, they were very, very good. Mm-hmm. But I never went there. I was just like loyal to
your place.
Where it was, and I don't know. I didn't think to go there.
Yeah, okay.
I was just like, no, we'll do it our way. We'll do whatever. And maybe I would have gone way further if I had been there. Right?
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, where can I go? So I was like looking up like good gyms and stuff like that. And I found a place called Warrior Muay Thai in the Don Mills area, in Toronto.
They have one in Newmarket, correct?
That's a different school.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Warriors.
Yeah, it's Warrior Martial Arts. Mm-hmm. They're a different program, great program. Mm-hmm. But Warrior Muay Thai is just like, it was strictly like Muay Thai. Zubair Khan, he's the head coach there. So when I contacted him, I'm like, hey, I did Taekwondo and I did a demo and I did some Muay Thai. He's like, yeah, man, come on in. I did Taekwondo too.
Oh, perfect.
And I'm like, huh. So when I started talking to him when I was there, I went there and I sparred with his guys, and I did quite well. Some of them had were champions, Muay Thai champions. And I was holding my own with them, right? And we weren't going full out, but it was a hard spar, right? And it was 2 hours, 2 hours of like hard sparring. You put on 2-minute rounds, rest a minute, 2-minute round, rest a minute. If you were gassed out, you could take that round off.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Right? Yeah. And he was watching me, and I'm like, so he's like, I wouldn't really change anything. He's like, you just need to keep doing this.
Oh, wow.
And that's one thing I kind of like, because I was like, he's like, I like how you kick. I like how you do this. It's different. He's like, for me, I'm all about being different. Like, we're not going to fight this way. Right. And I was like, hey, this is really cool. It really worked with me. And I went there and I did a fight under him. I was going to do another fight, and just, things came up. And then I kind of got, I guess, a little bit known for, hey, this guy can do these kicks. He can box. He can do Muay Thai. And I started getting called in by different sparring partners. And one guy was Chad Laprice. He's the UFC champion. And he invited me to come and spar, because he was fighting a guy that threw all these kicks at him.
So we need somebody to mimic that.
Someone who can mimic that, but also someone he can open up on, who knows how to use their hands and stuff. Mm-hmm. So like that guy's so good. He's really good. Mm-hmm. You know, and I went with him. I sparred with him. It was awesome. And then your good friend Diego, right? And now I'm 40, and he asked me to help him out.
You still got it though, Ross. You still got it.
I can't last very long, so that guy's so good. I'm so happy for him because he needs to get discovered. He really does.
He will.
Yeah, he's so good. Anyway, so I've been called by a few people just to help with their sparring, and I guess I'm pretty good at it. And
so humble about it.
Well, I'm okay. I'm okay, but now I don't spar hard anymore, as you can ask. Yeah. I'm at a point in my life I don't do it. Mm-hmm. I'll do like some light tech sparring and stuff like that, but I don't want to get hit hard. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
No, those days are over. And I'm married and have a business and moving on. So, and it's funny because now I kind of went full circle. Even when I had my other school, I had a school for almost 10 years. Mm-hmm. I was very much an athlete though at the time. Even though I had a school, I was competing, I was traveling, I was training, I was going to training camps and everything. I had a school and I was competing for the spot in the 2012 Olympics, for the 2012 Olympics. And I was constantly traveling for competitions. Mm-hmm. And I was also coaching, and I became a national team coach. Yeah, for the kids. We call it cadets, the age group. And then I was brought on as a Team Canada coach. Yeah, and I was like, and I'm an athlete, and I have a school. Yeah, right. And then I got called on again for another junior team coach position in Costa Rica, or I think honestly. I think it was there. Yeah. I've been to so many tournaments.
So, you travel a lot back then. Yeah.
And anyways, so I got really into coaching. And when I started developing really high level Taekwondo athletes, and I had one guy in 3 years of training, I made him a senior national champion.
And how long usually does that take?
Take a long time.
Yeah, give us a number.
Some people, it can take them 8, 9, 10 years.
Really? So, and you made this person do it in 3?
And they've already trained, and then they start competing for that long.
Oh, okay.
He just started training. Mm-hmm. He was like a white belt. He was tall, smart, flexible, athletic. Mm-hmm. I saw him. He came and trained with us. He has his own school now. Yeah. And great guy.
Is it Andrew?
Yes.
Okay.
Andrew. Yeah. And he became the senior national champion. And then not only that, he became the Canada Open champion, which is an international event. And he took out 2 top ranked Mexican fighters. Yeah. Top ranked in the world. They were really, really good. He took them both out.
Oh, wow.
So
this guy has long limbs.
Yes, he does.
He has very long limbs.
Yes.
It's annoying.
And he's very disciplined. He's smart. At a really early age, he went over to Korea too.
Oh, really?
He trained in Korea with the team. Yeah. He now has a school. He's still my student to this day. But I started training and I was making national champions, junior national champions. They're competing at Pan Am championships, junior world championships, or cadet world championships. There's so many championships.
So many champions.
So I was doing that, but now I've gone back to that traditional phase. Mm-hmm. And as good as it was, I see more value in just traditional martial arts at this point in my life for people.
Why is that?
Because I think... So COVID really made me realize something. My athletes that I had, they still trained with me. They were training online. Mm-hmm. But they didn't have a motivation. Mm-hmm. Whereas I had other people who were not athletes, but they were training traditional martial arts. They were more motivated than my highest level athletes.
Really?
To train. And I think they just truly enjoyed the overall martial arts. They like the whole picture. Mm-hmm. And I was like, for me, even like I also like the whole picture, right? I don't like just like I went hardcore into it, certain section like the sparring and the fighting part, but I've always like believed in the traditional part of the martial arts, having the respect, the honor. When I walk in my gym, I bow. Even if no one's there, I bow when I walk in. I take off my shoes. I don't wear my shoes on the mats, you know, like that whole traditional thing. Whereas a lot of athletes lose that. A lot of athletes lose that.
Yeah. I was going to ask you too. So in your prime, I like asking these questions to other fighters, but in your prime, would you consider yourself more of a martial artist or a fighter?
Martial artist.
So what do you think is the difference between a martial artist and a fighter?
Okay. So I think martial arts is a lifestyle and a mentality. It's a mentality to do the right thing, to be honorable, to have discipline in your life in general, not just in the sport part. Whereas no, there are a lot of athletes that bring that into
the discipline and stuff like that. I understand.
A lot of times, sometimes the fighters, they'll be a good fighter, but they don't try to apply those things in their life. And they, like, I'm not going to judge them or anything, but I'm like, well, you know, if you woke up and trained and this hard every day, why don't you apply that to your life to become successful or to do, you know,
to do others. It's applicable towards, let's say, school. It's applicable towards relationships. It's applicable to nutrition or being healthier. And martial arts is everything.
Everything. Yeah. So that's how I see it. But you know, there are like guys that I'm sure there's guys that just go to the gym, but they apply that whole thing to their whole life. But I've also seen a lot of people in martial arts. They're just fighters, and they're good fighters. But that's it. It kind of stops there. And to me, I think I'm not judging. Yeah, it's just not what I would do. Yeah.
So with your athletes, you were telling me that you do. I get them to do more traditional martial arts now, right? Yeah. And you find that helps them a little bit more.
I think it has more value than just focusing on competing and winning and things like that. I think it has a lot more. There's more depth to it than just focusing on the sport part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I've always, from when I have my schools, I've always taught the traditional martial arts, right? But then I got so caught up in the athletes, and I remember thinking like, man, I have like 300 students here, but I'm spending all my time on like 8 athletes.
Yeah.
Right. And then, yes, it is very special. Like to be an athlete is very special. There's a lot to it. But when they're done competing, I realized they stop. They don't even continue martial arts. They're like, okay, I'm done.
Do you feel like just because that burns them out a little bit?
I think it does. It burns them out. And then they don't see a point in it if they're not going to win. Whereas the regular students, the traditional martial arts students, they train for their whole lives. And I think that's better.
Train for martial arts is for life.
Yeah, for life. Yeah. And now I would say, like I still have some competitors. We have our provincial selections coming up in October, end of October. And I have a little squad. I'm still building some athletes, but it's different now. And the goal with them is different. And it's more about, yes, they're competing, but it's you know, I don't really, of course we want to win.
Of course.
But it for them, it's more about the experience and the courage to fight and try. And we're not going to get obsessed over points, scores, things like that anymore. And when we come back to the studio, we're also going to focus on the traditional martial arts as well. So it's just where I am now. And, you know, as you get older, not that I'm too old, right? But I'm 40, and I think it's important. Like I don't have much time left to teach. Like at least I won't be as active on the mat. So I'm still in there almost every day teaching, but it's hard. It does get hard. And I want to make sure that I leave these students. So when I do step back and stop teaching so much, I'm really now more conscious of what I want them
to learn and know how to do.
Yeah. So when you asked what would I change and regret, that was I would make but
you would install that a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more with those athletes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
It's funny you mentioned about like your lifestyle with training with them. It's I called you the other day, and when we were scheduling things, and I did pad work with 2 people in a row.
Yeah.
And I was so tired. I was like, no wonder fucking Ross never wants to do pads with me because it's so tiring. And I called you. I'm like, man, I didn't realize how hard it is to constantly do pads for like 2 hours straight.
Yeah. During the pandemic.
Oh gosh.
I was doing maybe.
Oh, I was training with 5,
you. Yeah, 5 or 6 people in a row.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know why you're so tired
of pads.
And then I realized when I started doing pads, I'm like, whoo, that was 5 minutes, right?
Yeah. But you know what's fun about one-on-ones and pad is the relationship you build. Right?
It's true, yeah, because I've trained with you for how long have I known you for? 8 years.
Yeah,
8 years. Yeah. And I mean, I consider you like my sensei for sure.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's real, but I consider you because you're like the kid. I was joking around with people, but you're like the king of motivational, like little quotes. I'd be tired, and you tell me one thing. Like I remember one time, we were talking about the gym, and I was going through I was really upset about the gym and trying to get through like different options, and you just looked at me and you're like, hey man, you can't be a David if you don't have a Goliath. I'm like, come on man. I'm like, okay.
Then, I remember that. No, it's true.
Yeah. And even it's funny because you used to tell me when we used to train, it's like, stop trying so hard.
Yeah.
And the moment like I stopped trying so hard, I like progressed so much.
And you know what, that's where the traditional martial arts I think is so important, and that's the mindfulness part, right? Mm-hmm. And I was telling you when we came in here, like mindfulness is like this new fad. It's new. Well,
it is. No, it's a trend now.
It's a trend now.
Yeah.
And but that was taught to me. I remember like the quotes from my Master Co. He was dropping these kind of quotes, like the one, the harder you squeeze, the sooner you lose your grip.
Yeah.
But like that one, like lots of these quotes he was dropping on us at an early age, and kind of not to anticipate, but to react. So basically getting your head out of it. Yeah, it was a better way to do martial arts. Sometimes, right? You do need to sometimes think and
focus. Yeah.
But there's a lot of times in your head just
flowing, just doing,
or like the analysis leads to paralysis, right? Like over analysis, you freeze, and a lot of that's just you're not in the moment. You're not when you're in that head space. And martial arts really, like, if you're not in the moment, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so it forces you to be in the moment, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So, and I think, like, the martial arts is so important, especially for kids. For kids.
Well, super important. Yeah. I think, honestly, kids and adults, like...
Well, yeah, adults too.
Adults too. Kids, 100%, because it kind of dictates the way that they're going to grow, right? But adults, because, if you're a good sensei, you can teach anybody a new lesson every day, right? Yeah. And I remember when we were training, and there was, I don't know what happened, but we had like such a good stride with everything. And there was something I couldn't learn that you were teaching. I don't know, you're always teaching me new stuff. But the Cuban, reverse Cuban, all this stuff. Yeah. But I remember there was a time I was so frustrated and so sad about that I couldn't get it done. And I remember... You told me a quote. I have it on my phone actually. So I read.
Whoa!
So whenever I'm upset,
I'm honored, sir. I'm honored.
So because I remember when you told me this quote, it like changed the way I thought about everything. And whenever I'm upset that I can't learn something or sad, I read this quote. So I remember you told me, you said, when an archer is shooting for nothing, he has all his skill. If he shoots for a brass buckle, he is already nervous. If he shoots for a prize of gold, he goes blind. Or he sees 2 targets, he is out of his mind. His skill has not changed, but the prize divides him. He cares, he thinks more of winning than of shooting, and the need to win drains him of his power. Yeah. I remember you told me that, and like it changed like totally how I think about things. Yeah. Because what do you think like when you started training me, what do you think was my the skill and my weaknesses when it came to learning things?
Oh, so you're obviously super athletic, strong, fast. Your hands are fast. Like
I know you always tell me like you have to. Yeah. What did you? You're like I need a boxing. What did you say? You said I need one of my students to be a boxing champ. You're like, can you go? He's like, can you go for the belt? I'm like, what? Yeah.
I was joking around, but
I took it very seriously.
No, but I think that was like your strength, and it's funny, like somebody's strength can also be their Achilles heel, right?
Yeah.
So you're such a perfectionist, which is good. Yeah. But it also was your Achilles heel.
Yeah.
So it's a
give and take.
It's a give and take. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were definitely like very dedicated, very disciplined, very serious. But of course that, as you know, it kind of got in your way because you're so hard on yourself. You didn't enjoy and appreciate.
I didn't.
Yeah. And
honestly, I didn't.
People learn more when they're playful, right?
You're right. Because every time, honestly, it sounds negative, but every time I came to train with you, I was nervous. I was angry. I was like, okay, today I need to make sure I learn this.
Yeah.
Opposed to after you told me that, I started coming in. I'm like, okay, we're just going to hit pads. I'm going to we're going to learn some drills. We're going to spar a little bit. We're just going to learn.
Yeah.
And things started flowing a little bit better.
It's hard. The mental game is hard.
Yeah.
In anything, right?
Yeah.
And it's
true.
Such a contradiction too. Cause like, it's almost like the harder you try sometimes, the worse you do in some things, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if you, like some people, they just don't care. They don't care. And they're so good at it.
Well,
it's because they're so relaxed.
It's so funny because you say that, like when I used to go to sparring nights and stuff like that, I'm like, I'd set up my mind, I visualize, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to get hit, I'm not going to do that. And that's not realistic.
Yeah.
And then when I did get hit, I get frustrated.
Yeah.
Right. So now if I spar, like, especially like if I spar like Scott or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't even care.
Yeah.
I know that it's really, really bad, but I go in.
It's good though.
And I don't care.
Yeah.
Like at all. I'm like, okay, he's going to hit me. I want him to hit me first so I can understand how his speed and everything like that. And then I end up flowing even better.
Yeah.
Right. And it's weird.
Because you let go of the desire.
It's weird because with my whole thought process when it comes to things is to have the desire, to have that hunger and to push forward.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't care. And because I care in the sense of learning, but I didn't care if I lost a round. And the more I cared less about losing a round, the more rounds I won.
So I'm not sure who used to say it, but there was a quote I once saw. It was a chat forum for like Taekwondo people. It was years ago.
Okay.
And people would chat and they talk about anyone could write anything, right? And it kind of got to a point where people were just like, it got bad, right? It got ugly and they shut it down. Yeah, I know, right? But this was like the older Taekwondo, right? So these people were a little bit, they're a little bit rough around the edges too. And, I remember there's a quote and the guy wrote it and it always said it at the bottom of his post. It says, do it seriously, but don't take it seriously. And I was like, so when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's for me. Cause I'm a lot like you actually, I'm such a perfectionist. Like I'm like obsessed sometimes when it comes to things. When I was coaching my guys, I would watch videotapes, analyze for hours and hours. I had notes on them. I was like, you kicked this many times this round. You scored this many points this round with this leg, but against this I broke down everything for them. Every time you kicked, you did 2 jumps, like hop, and then this. Your opponent does that, so you know when they're gonna attack. Like I was obsessed, like reading opponents and looking for things. So like, and sometimes it was like kind of like you. I would try so hard because I wanted to do right by them. Like if I'm going to be your coach, I'm going to be the best coach I can be for you, right? And it would kind of get in my way because I wouldn't sleep. And the next day I'm like all grumpy. And
you can't give them the full capability of who you are.
Yeah. And I'll worry so much about them. And like I would go to the tournaments and I'd look at their opponents and I'd be like, You just picked up the target, your kicking target, where you picked it up with the right hand. I'll count how many times you used your right hand that day, so I can figure out what hand you are, what leg you are. And when you step back on your off bound, just watching them in the walking around, what leg do you use, or how do you shift your weight? And, okay, maybe when they do this, I was kind of
you're really intense
about it. Yeah. And some of my friends joked around at me. They're like, "This is too much," and it probably was too much, right? Because
but the thing is, with all attributes like that, also make a person great in their field. Right.
It's your Achilles heel, but it's your strength. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So with people that you train, what's been the most rewarding part of taking them through the martial arts journey?
Ooh. Okay. You know what's funny? So we have a black belt test.
Yeah.
Okay. We do our black belt test twice a year. Doesn't mean that anyone goes for it. Right? It takes some time to go for it. One of my favorite things is we get our students who test for their black belt. They have to write a letter to their parents, or if they're an adult, they write it to their wife or their spouse or husband or whatever, girlfriend, if they're boyfriend, whatever they're living with, someone important to them. And it's a letter of appreciation. Okay. So that's to go to your first dan, black belt. It's a letter of appreciation to a loved one. So I realized in all these years, when they get their black belts, they never ever said, "I learned how to fight. I learned how to kick butt. I learned how to kick ass," or you know what I mean?
Kick ass.
Yeah. They never say that.
Yeah.
I learned. They read, and the parents, they cry, and they're so happy, right? Because it's years. And when a student gets their black belt, first of all, they invested their money, time, and it's the parents' time because they drive them every day, and they sit in the car and wait, and they're doing this for 5-6 years, right? Sometimes even more. Sometimes I just had a girl go for her black belt. She's been training 8 years.
Oh wow!
And she finally got her first dan. And Taekwondo is a little bit. It's not so hard to get your black belt like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something.
Yeah.
So the thing that they read to their parents is I learned about respect. I learned about dedication. I learned not to give up. When I'm breaking that board and I can't break it, when they're white belts or yellow belts, they start crying. They can't do it. They can't get their belt unless they break their board.
Well, a lot of things with martial arts is more like metaphors.
Yeah.
Right. Like the board and everything like that, breaking it. Right.
Yeah. So I know board breaking is not going to help you in a real situation, but for a kid, it teaches them to overcome an obstacle. Right. And some adults might need that too. A lot of adults. I think a lot of adults do. But that to me is the most rewarding thing is when I hear what they have to say and how appreciative they are, and the fact that they're appreciative. Because then I'm like, okay, I haven't just made someone kick butt. I've taught someone, and they've acknowledged that what they've learned is respect, discipline, not to give up, those character qualities. To me, that's the highlight. Yeah. That to me, that's better than winning any championship.
Of course.
And then when they go from their first dan to their second dan, they have to write their responsibilities as a black belt. And now they start to see that their behaviors, their actions are important, right? Because and their responsibilities to help the community, to give back, because they realize along their journey how many people helped them get there. If you're in a traditional martial arts school, you'll see it's such a supportive environment. And that's one reason I was drawn to that Taekwondo school as well, because when you're a kid, you're hanging with your friends, they don't do martial arts. Kids are tough on kids, right? They're
kids are assholes.
Yeah, they can be
they can be assholes.
But when I went to the martial arts school, it was probably the first time in my life where someone said, "Hey man, you're really good. Good job. You could be a champion. You can be a black belt. You're awesome." I was like, what? I didn't really do other organized sports other than hockey. And most of the time in the hockey, it's different.
Yeah, right? They're a lot more rough.
Yeah, a little bit more rough. So, so the environment of a traditional martial arts school, if you're looking to be a UFC fighter, obviously it's not your place, right? But I think it's very healthy. For people, it's a very, very good thing. It's almost like going to church, right?
A lot of places in in China and Korea and stuff like that, like it's mandatory to take martial arts along with school, because it's like for them, it's martial arts has nothing to do with fighting. Yep. Right? It's more about learning discipline, as you just added, obviously, discipline, learn yourself, learn self-confidence. Like it's not even are you going to do martial arts? It's like, no, you're doing it along school. Yeah. Right. And I see it like that too. Like when I have kids, 100%. Yeah. They have to do martial arts.
Yeah. It's funny because depend on different cultures too. Like at our studio, some parents are like, hey, Billy, did you like the class? And like, yeah, I like it. And they sign him up. Right. Whereas a lot of cultures are like, we're signing him up. Do you want to check if he likes it? Nope, I don't care. He's doing this. Do you have a black belt membership? And we're like, what? You just walked in here. No, he's going to get his black belt. He's staying. Like he has to do.
That family.
They value it, and they know. We don't do that though. We don't do black belt memberships or anything like that. The reason I don't do that is I learned this from a mentor of mine. He's in the States. His name is Brennan Beliso. Amazing guy. He says, I don't do those memberships because I want everybody's last class. As everyone's class could be their last class.
Oh, wow.
So I teach every class as if somebody today could cancel. Yeah.
I like that. Well, I wanted to ask you too, when you're training people, what do you think is the difference between training girls and boys at a young age?
At a young age? Girls are so much better.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. They pick it up so much faster.
You know what I find, and it's the same thing with personal training, because I find when I train females and I teach them movement, they focus on the pattern, the mechanisms of everything. Yeah. With a guy, they'll muscle it through. Yeah. Which we need to know like the patterns. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's what I find personally with personal training.
Yeah. Boys are just like, okay. They just try to
I'll do it.
Or, they don't put the thought into it. But then later, when they become teenagers, I find the boys are a little bit less self-conscious and able to just like get into their zone when they're training more. Whereas I work with a lot of teenage girls. They're always like looking in the mirror, it's kind of like, but when they were little kids, they weren't doing that. Yeah. They don't. And then when they grow up, I think it's just how people are, right? Yeah. But, and of course depends, but I think a lot of girls are maybe because they do dance and gymnastics, they have more flexibility. So for me, it's a little bit easier to teach them at a young age because they're already super flexible. Yeah. Whereas with boys, they're a little bit tighter. So it's hard to get them to be
loose with the hips, with the kicks and stuff like that.
At an early age. But I work on it. I get them.
Yeah, you get them there.
I get them there. But
so I want to ask you a question. So with Cobra Kai coming out, do you find that there's a resurgence when it comes to people wanting to sign up in other schools? Yeah. And do you think that's good or bad?
I think it's great. Yeah. I think the more people that can do martial arts, the better. And I think the more people that, even if they get into it for the wrong reason, if they're in the right school, they're going to be better for it.
Yeah, so, that's true.
Yeah. I think anything that gets them in is good.
I think I heard I don't know where I read it, but if you want less bullies in school, put them in martial arts. Yeah. Because once they're in that dojo, they'll realize they're like, you're not the shit. Yeah. And then you get disciplined, and then you learn to respect other people a lot better, right? A lot of people think if like a bully or if a person that has a bad attitude gets into martial arts, so they're just going to apply that to beat people up. But the right teacher, the right sensei will bring them down.
And that's such a pet peeve of mine, because a lot of parents, their intentions are good, but let's say because a kid maybe acted out in a certain way, or maybe they hit something or did something, they'll take them out of martial arts. Like, no, he's using it.
Oh, he's using it in the outside practice.
Or something like that. And I'm like, and they're at such a beginner level too, right? I'm like, why would you take them out of something that in the end is going to make them 1,000 times better? They will get rid of that desire to bully, because they're going to build their self-confidence. The reason they're bullying is because they have no self-confidence. There's something wrong, or they're being bullied. Something's.
Yeah. So adding to that a little bit, have you ever had a student that you needed to discipline a little bit more?
Of course.
Yeah. How'd you do that?
So I'll say I'm a good guy, but I'm not a nice guy.
Okay.
and I mean it in my entire life. Mm-hmm. I'll be good. I'm always good. I'll do the right thing, but I'm not going to take shit from anybody or anything, or even if it's a kid. So I'm not a nice guy, but I'll be good. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So if I have a kid and, you know, if I see them drop their bag on the floor or throw something at their mom or something like that, even if they're a black belt, I'll bring them in. I'll be like, take off that belt. All these years, that's how you behave. You don't deserve that. And then I'll make them do a white belt class for like a week.
Oh, really?
It depends on the kid. I'm not going to break a kid. But if I have to, I will do something. But I've done that before and it worked. Yeah, with the right kid. So, but you know that saying, like, if you're going to break someone down, bring them up higher. So
there's another one, Ryan. There's another one.
There you go. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So what about with training adults when they're like 30, 35? What do you find the difference, like the difference in that?
I'm like, I wish you started earlier. They're so stiff and their bodies, and they need this, right? So, with adults, it's more about in their 30s. For what I do, it's a lot about health and good form and technique and just a lot of stretching and just getting their bodies like back to a healthy place. Yeah, because you know, most people that come in, they're not healthy. They sit all day. Their hips are tight. So for me, it's about getting them into that healthy place. If you're a little bit already in an athletic sort of shape, or you know, you're good to go, then they would do our kickboxing class. And in the kickboxing, again, it's more like we have kickboxing, and it's not a cardio kickboxing class. But I'm not trying to build fighters there. But they're learning real kickboxing techniques. They're doing partner work. They're doing pad work. And a lot of thing I noticed with the new people, they're very stiff, but they're tight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, stay loose.
And they're super jittery. So teaching them to relax, and even when they're getting hit, when they're blocking, to just relax,
breathe,
embrace, accept, and then applying that to their life. Because when you're being punched, you're under fire. And one of the best things to do when you're under fire is just relax, look for opening, and then get out, execute, get out, right? Whereas most people, when they're in a stressful situation, they freak out. They don't relax. Okay, how am I going to get out of this situation and execute? They usually freak out, they make it worse, and then they start to they talk to somebody who gives them good advice, and then they're like, oh shit, I better relax, I shouldn't have said that. Okay, now I have to fix all my mistakes, right? So it's for adults, that would be what I think is important, applying it into their life, is learning to just, like, you know, embrace the fire. Yeah, and then kind of get out of there. So health for adults, health is the most important thing, right? Getting their bodies healthy and then teaching them to relax. Yeah, they're so tight. Yeah, and with the adults, it's got to be fun. And I think, like, for martial arts, you're working out with a purpose, right? You're kind of learning something, and you can apply it if you ever needed to, right? I like this saying, we're not training to fight the Gracies, we're learning to fight the crazies. Okay, so I'm not going to spend so much time teaching them all this technical stuff, but if somebody grabs your hand, they're going to know how to get out. If somebody takes a swing at you, they'll know how to block.
Or how to take it.
And they will know how to strike back, like, properly, without throwing themselves off balance and falling on their face. So they like that they're learning. They feel like, well, I guess anyone who does martial arts, you kind of feel like a sense of security, right? Like,
because
I now know what to do
in that dangerous situation. I agree. Like, I've told people when I have kids, like, I want them to know martial arts for obvious reasons, but I'd rather them know how to defend themselves and never been in a situation once and know how to talk out than be in that situation and have no idea what to do.
Practice the fight so you don't have to do it.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
And so, I don't know, that's how I see it as also. So,
are you counting my quotes?
Ryan's like,
no, when we edit the video, I'll put a little.
That's too funny. So, with training and stuff like that, do you find that you retain most of the people that you get? Like, or sometimes there's been people who are like, they leave after like 4 or 5 months.
So usually they stay. Most of them stay. So in a healthy martial arts school, from what I hear, you'll always have a 3 to 6% dropout rate. So you always have some come and go, right? But not everyone is going to get their black belt. Not everyone's going to do it for life. But they will get something out of it. And you probably meet people, and we talk to people, and they're like, yeah, I did karate when I was a kid. I got my green belt. It was awesome. It was great. Like they only got to a green belt. But they were like, happy they did it. So I don't get too fixed on like the retention, right? I'm more fixed on the impact it had on them. And if they're done tomorrow and they never want to do it again, like it's not for everyone, obviously, right? I just hope it had an impact. They learned something out of it, got something good out of it.
I even then to add to that, I remember you told me one time, I'm like, if you don't love this, then it's okay for you not to do this. And it wasn't harsh.
As an adult, I think as a kid,
you have to do it.
You should do it.
I definitely agree with you on that one.
I think you should. It's like saying I don't like school, so I'm not going to go to school anymore.
I agree. So I know you're a little bit biased, but what do you think a kid's first martial art should be?
That's so tough. Like to give an honest answer.
I would hope so.
Honest answer. It's about the teacher.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. I don't think it matters what it is.
So these people who they want to take their kids to a martial arts place, what should they look for as a teacher?
First, okay. Can the teacher? Yes, I think, and I know this is more of a new school, and some old school people will be like, no, martial arts shouldn't be fun. But if they can make it fun. Because if you tell a kid to stare at a wall, they're going to stare at the wall for 2 minutes and then they're gone. They're done. They can't do it. But if you put an iPad in front of them, they can stare at it for 5 hours straight. The parents have to take it away. But they're still doing the same action. They're sitting there and they're staring at something. So why can one do it for 5 minutes? Not even 5 minutes. The other one can do it for 5 hours because it's fun.
Yeah, stimulating to them. Yeah.
So if you can at the beginning make it fun, I think that's really important. And are they teaching life skills? Are they when they walk in, are they embracing like say hello sir, hello ma'am, like talking like that? Are there higher belt students being respectful when you look around, things like that? If you're looking for that, if you're looking for like the character building, respect part of it. Now, if you're just looking for self-defense, pure self-defense, then I think most people who know what they're looking for, right? They're like, okay, does this look practical? Is it effective, right? And then that would be a good.
Well, that's why a lot of people go to like jiu-jitsu, or Krav Maga. Well, Krav Maga has kind of died off a little bit.
Yeah, it's dying off, but
so it's more jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think so. For Taekwondo and karate, I do. Again, it depends on the teacher, right? I'm not going to tell we do horse stance practice, okay? But I'll be the first person to tell them, we don't do that when we have to defend ourselves. This is just a strength exercise for our legs and stuff. And we'll even modify it. We won't put our hands here on the hips. We'll have them up here, not doing those traditional punches like that. So it depends on the teacher. And just make sure, or not even the teacher, the team. Because usually a lot of martial arts school owners, the owner isn't the one teaching every class. You can't teach you'll die, right? In a week, you're done. Is the team well trained? Are they professional? Are they teaching? Are they actually correcting the kids' techniques? Do they know how to lead them, right? Or does it look like a bunch of little kids running a class? That's the problem with a lot of schools. They'll get like a new black belt to teach, but they don't train the black belt how to teach them. Now, if you're a white belt, you don't need a master to teach you how to punch. Right? It's like you're learning how to peel potatoes. You don't need a master chef to teach you. You can get a guy from the kitchen to show you how to peel potatoes. But later on, you need that master, right? So just make sure that whatever school you go into, if you're looking for character building, look at how the students walk in. They're bowing? Is it martial arts thing, right? You bow, you say hello, sir, hello, ma'am. When they speak, are they saying sir, ma'am, like that? When the kids line up for the class? Are they like structured? Is it that, you know, is it like almost like military, like boom, they line up? That means that they're big on that discipline. Yeah. Or is it more casual? Like, all right, guys, come and make a circle. That's a little bit more chill approach, which isn't bad. But it depends what you're looking for, right? So it's hard to say. So again, it depends on the teacher and the staff. The staff, yeah. And of course, the staff is a reflection of the teacher, right? So if the staff isn't that good, it's probably because the teacher's not that good at leading. So
okay, well, all right, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming.
Thank you, man.
Where can they find Tiger Kicks?
What's that?
Where's Tiger Kicks located?
Elgin Mills and Bathurst, Richmond Hill.
Bathurst. Awesome. Yes. Well, I appreciate you coming.
You
again.
got kids, bring them in, and if you're
even if you're an adult,
you want to like stretch out and have some fun and be around really nice people and good people. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Ross, you'll always be my sensei.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I appreciate you.
It's an honor.
All right.
Thanks,
bye, guys.
Man.